Welcome back to another episode of Red Hawk Media. Today we're starting our second part of our web design series, and to begin with, we're focusing on the HTML basics. Let's go ahead and pick up where we left off after the first episode. So to begin with, we've got this index file. It's saved as an HTML. Now, problem is we've been opening this file and using it in Safari. So if I double click on it, automatically it's going to bring it up in Safari. Here's where we left off. That's good. Let's go ahead and drag that off to the side here. Now that's kind of frustrating because really what I want to do is just get back in here to edit this. So I'm going to right click on the index file and then I'm going to go open with text edit. And there we have it. Now we're back to where we left off yesterday. We added a paragraph, we've got a picture, and we've got this very generic link here. Now, let's start off with some basic formatting stuff here that'll help us out. Talk some syntax and some basics of web design here that are very important to making sure that your website is successful. If you just keep adding in elements here, you're going to get this effect where it just keeps stacking stuff, everything down. Sometimes it'll stack it off to the side if you're not putting it into its own paragraphs. So, some basic formatting here. Obviously, if I want this link to go into its own line, I'm just going to quickly add it into a paragraph here. And I just added the paragraph tags on there. Let's go ahead and Command S that to save it. Come back over and I refresh it. Okay, and now we've got a little bit more appealing of a setup here. Still not the greatest, but we'll get to that. We're learning the basics here. Now, our picture we put in, and it is from a link. Now, the one problem with that is that links are constantly changing as websites evolve, and sometimes websites disappear completely, or websites get blocked by different things. Who knows? So this is kind of an unreliable way of doing this, is creating image sources that are links. You have no control over the pictures and if they're going to be there or not, which is disheartening. So let's talk about how we can add this picture in, actually, to make sure that it's, ours and ours to keep forever. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's get organized here a little bit. On our desktop, we're going to very quickly create a folder. So I'm going to go New Folder, and I'm just going to call this generic folder here. We're going to call it Website. Normally this would be your root folder. This is where you save all of your stuff. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my index file and I'm going to move it into the website folder. And then I've got a picture up here, a different picture. I'm going to move that into the website file. Okay, and then anything else that I wanted to use, I would also move it into this folder here. So now this folder contains everything that belongs to my website. And the beauty of this is these are my files and I am hosting them, and there's no way that they can disappear unless I actually delete them. Now, this also leads us to some other interesting things that are going on here. Since we're using our own files, naming conventions become very important. So how you name everything has to be very consistent so that it's easy to add stuff to your website. For instance, you'll notice that all of my files are all lowercase with no spaces. Now, that's one way of doing it. There's another way that's like a pyramid way, where you've got lowercase, and then if you've got a second word, you capitalize that second word. So if it was HTML and then we said like page 2, I'd capitalize the P and then we'd have page 2. Okay. But whatever you do for your system, make sure that you're consistent with it. And I would really strongly recommend avoiding spaces because they become a nightmare while you're coding all of this HTML. As I'm sure some of you have realized, if you type in one thing wrong or change one thing slightly, it doesn't work. So we've got our folder, we've got our two files in it. Now if I go back to my website and I refresh this, there's going to be chaos. Okay, it doesn't know what's going on, so I'm going to have to reopen this file. So I go up to File, I go to Open File, okay, and I look at the folder that I created, and I go to Index, and I go to Open. So here we are, we're back to square one here. Now, you notice that I've still got my linked picture in here. I do not, however, have this picture in here, the HTML.jpg one. So let's go ahead and add that, which is a little bit different process. So go to our index here in text edit, and let's go ahead and add that picture in below our link here. And I'm going to go ahead and go img src equals, and this time instead of a link, I'm going to put the file name html.jpg. Now all that has to appear exactly the same as the file. No spaces, no caps, nothing like that. Okay, I go ahead and close that up, and we hit Command S, and now I come over here and I refresh, and boom, there it is. Now, here's something that I want to point out very quickly, where your website gets broken in a hurry here, is let's say, for instance, I accidentally move this picture out of here. Okay, so the html.jpg isn't in there anymore. I go back and I'm refreshing the page, and now I'm going to get this little icon. This icon tells me that one, the coding is either bad, or two, the picture that it's looking for is not available. And it's looking for it in the root folder, and I just took it out of there. Okay, so that's how we keep everything organized here, all in this folder. Eventually, we'd be adding in more folders, an images folder, pages folder, all those things to help us keep our site organized, and that changes up how we have to type things in here too. Let's keep it basic for now and focus on just adding a physical picture that we are locally hosting in there. So find a picture, add that in there, and then you're good to go. We've got some of the basic tags already. Paragraph, image, we've got a link. You can take these and combine them together. So as we've already seen, paragraph and a link all tied together so that they're working in conjunction. Same thing can be done with your images. For instance, I want this to be an image that I can click on as a link. So let's go ahead and make it a link. I'm going to do the a space href equals, and then we've got our quotes, and then the full website, media.com, end quotes. Now, the picture is the part that I'm clicking on, so I'm going to keep that in the middle. And now, I'm adding on the closing tag for the link. So if we did this all right, let's go Command S, come back to our page, update it, and boom, we've got a link that we can click on. Now, this link we can actually click on here, and it'll take us over to the Red Hawk Media page. Boom. We're all set. All right, now this is horribly ugly and does not look appealing at all. So let's show you a very basic way to start styling this. Now, styling is a term that we use. Sometimes you can do inline styling, and other times you can do a CSS page, which is a separate file that does all the styling for you. You can also add styling to the header. We'll get to that in a bit. Okay, so this picture is unwieldy and big. Let's go ahead and style it. So we go to Style, and we go to Quotes. And now we're going to go ahead and say, let's start with the height. And it's height, colon. And we're going to say, well, let's make it 350 pixels, px. All right, semicolon to separate these things. Now I've got the width, colon. And let's make it like 525 pixels and semicolon. And then we close up those quotes at the end. Okay, and now we've got a new setup here. Let's go ahead and Command S, come back here, and let's refresh. And wow, that did a whole lot of nothing here. Let's go ahead and go back to our index here and take a look at this style. And then equals. Let's try that. And Command S. There we go. Forgot the equal sign. Okay, so you can see one little thing here. So style equals, and then we've got the quotations, and we just added a height and width component right now to this. Now, the width component is 525 pixels, and yeah, things are starting to look slightly better. The pictures are relatively the same size. I can adjust that more. Okay, now there's other elements that we can add on here. That's why we've got the semicolon at the end here. So we can say padding, for instance, so that it creates a space around the picture. Maybe we want this to be indented a bit so it's not sitting right on the left-hand margin. Let's say 10 pixels. Now this will create a 10 pixel padding all the way around the picture on every side of it. Okay, let's go ahead and Command S that, and then we come back and we refresh. Boom, you can see there's 10 pixels added on here. You can tell compared to the other picture that now we've got that space, and it added the extra space above and below it, even though we can't see it below. Okay, so starting to look a little bit better. These are some basics here that you can add into the lines for styling. Now, truth be told, this is still a horribly hideous website. So let's get a little bit more formatting in here, which takes us to W3 Schools. Let's head over to that site, and we'll go back to this one that failed to open. Type in W3. Okay, again, I've been using this for a number of years. It's a wonderful resource. I recommend it to anybody. You can find pretty much anything you're looking for. Sometimes you just have to figure out what the name of that thing is that you're looking for. But this is wonderfully easy and intuitive to use. So learn HTML. Let's click on that. And then once we're in here, we've got all these different options here to click on. The one we're looking at is layout. Now, my theory for learning HTML is the best way is to beg, borrow, and steal everything. That means that we're going to copy and paste a whole bunch of stuff here. Okay, so let's start off with this down here. I had mentioned before that there is styling called CSS. Okay, and that styling will allow you to manipulate everything on your page. Add in colors, add in spacing, add in where it's going to actually situate itself on your page, all of that stuff. So let's go ahead and grab this. Long story short, we are stealing at this point. Command C. Okay, and let's go back to our index to see how this works. Now, we're going to put the styling in the header. I always say that the head is kind of the brains of the operation, so we're going to tell the body what to do here. So we're going to go Command V, and we just pasted all that styling that we copied from the website in there. Now we're going to go back here, and let's make this work with the stuff that they've already created for us. So we're going to grab these div tags here, and these are basically containers. It's a container, it's a block of formatting here, and it's got some different things. Like for instance, we've got our header, we've got our navigation area, we've got our main section that's got our content, and then we've got the footer. Okay, and we can talk more about this in the future, but we're just going to steal this for right now. Command C, and let's go back to the index. And now you notice that that was in the body of that website. So let's go ahead and come over to the body tags here, because anything that we want to show up on our website has to be in the body area. So we go Command V, paste that in there. Now I've got a whole hodgepodge of things going on here, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and see what's happening. I'm going to Command S that, and then I'm going to come back to my page, and I'm going to refresh. And boom, we've got everything here. Now, this is some pre-made formatting for us. We've got our header, we've got our navigation, and we've got what they call the section, which is actually the content, and then we have a footer down here. This gives us a little bit of room to work now. We can start making this website a little bit prettier. Okay, so let's go ahead and add some stuff in. I think the next best step for you is to go ahead and start messing around with the CSS to, one, change your colors, get some different stuff going on in there, change the formatting a little bit. Remember, you can always go back, make one change at a time, save it, see how it looks. I like to put these side by side, so like, for instance, if I go up into the CSS here and I say I don't really want that background color of my header to be black, let's go ahead and make that red. It's going to be obnoxious, but make one change. Let's go ahead and Command S that, come over here, and then we test it out. Now, this is a very generic way of putting colors in there. I'm sure if you went to W3 Schools, you'd be able to find the hexadecimal code that you can put in to get some better colors. So don't be limited just by the names of the colors here. There's definitely more specific ways of doing that. So tinker around a little bit, experiment, see what you can come up with, add your own content into the framework that's been given here, and see what you can come up with the header, the nav, the section, and the footer. Okay? This has been another episode of Red Hawk Media. Thanks for joining us. Bye.